This is Dabu 7 Underground World News Live. Welcome to the show. And yes, this was supposed to be on the other channel, 777. But we had some issues. Apparently, they've got things hemmed up over there for no apparent reason. No excuses. Everything should be fine and working, but it's not. So I'm going to have to wait and figure that out or get some feedback. Somebody tell me what's going on. But tried to go live over on the other channel. Not letting me. As soon as I get that figured out, I'll probably just go live. I mean, I have to test it one way or another. So I guess when I'm live over there, you guys know. Hopefully you guys are subbed over to the other channel. I've got links below. And I've got links below for everything we're going to talk about here tonight for the most part. Want to welcome everybody to the show. I hope everybody's had a good week. Days seem to fly by anymore. Want to thank everybody out there that shares the link, shares this, gets it out there. We did go live a little bit early here tonight. Different time slot. It was going to be on a different channel, like I said, but since they wouldn't let me, we're here. But a lot to talk about, a lot going on. Every time we turn around, something new. One thing that's been catching my attention, though, that affects us all is the weather. The patterns have just been, I don't know. Some of these rains that they've been dumping, some of these systems, they've been pretty torrential. What happened in Elliott City was wild. That whole incident was wild for me because as I did a video before that, I was thinking about that exact scenario. And then it ended up happening again. And RIP to the soldier that was washed away, I think trying to save a cat. Lost his life out there in those floodwaters. Floodwaters, no joke, but we're seeing this more and more. And we were just talking earlier. Normally, you hear in terms of the weather, Tornado Alley, and you're talking the panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. You know, those have been some of the main areas over the years you hear of in terms of tornadoes moving into Arkansas. And they can even say up into Nebraska. But what we've had here tonight, within the past 12 hours, is severe systems that have moved through Wyoming and then up through the Dakotas into North Dakota. And that's going to push in toward Minnesota. And it's a lot more in a northerly fashion than we're used to seeing this time of year. But it's just one of the many differences we're seeing in these patterns that are spinning up. We just had that Alberto come through, and even though it didn't cause a whole lot of damage, it just shows you that any one of these systems that come through can dump a lot of rain, because I've seen landslides that really haven't been reported on, and I've got some images here. Hopefully I can get them uploaded within the next day to share of some landslides as well that I was able to get. I want to start off here with an update to this whole tariff issue. Now, this thing, to me, with this battle out here, these tariffs back and forth between these countries, in the end, it's only going to hurt us, I feel. It's my own personal opinion. And I feel like it's going to affect people depending on where you live, really, and what your state does in terms of bringing in income and all that good stuff. Canada, which many people didn't expect to be engaged in a battle with the United States at this point in terms of tariffs, they, along with Mexico, other countries, firing back at the United States, saying they wanted to launch these tariffs on steel and aluminum. So now they're going to try to impose their own levies. They're talking $16 billion worth of U.S. products is what they're going to levy. And that includes whiskey, orange juice, and this will vary between 10 and 25%. They're saying that will match the tariffs that are imposed on Canadian imports by Trump or by Washington. So these are countermeasures. You might as well see if they're firing right back with the exact same percentage, then where are we getting? It's just a higher price for not only them, but then for us on the other end. So the prices just get higher. But it's tit for tat. Same thing. What are you gaining in this? Now, I can understand imposing tariffs, and I really understood the talk, but it was just talk, it seemed, out the gate about China and going after them and getting them to pay for things. Because what was China doing, and what are they still doing? What have they done for decades? Intellectual property theft. Anything and everything you could ever think of. Anything that's got a brand name, they rip it off. They make it their own. They make the Chinese version, and that's how they sell it. Okay? That is ripping off people globally. And Trump had stated he was going to go after them to get some of that money back because of all the damage is done. But as time goes by, I think more and more people starting to see the curtain falls. These world leaders have more deals going on than what meets the eye at all times. And there's been talk of what's been happening with these businesses, these Chinese businesses, and even with Ivanka and all these deals, as no one's paying attention, getting approved through China, while all the other headlines are saying we're on the verge of trade war. And like, hold on, what's really going on here? Who's really benefiting? This is what I always say. You have to pay attention to what the hand's doing behind the curtain. This whole thing's propped up. We start talking about these tariffs, like I said, and I have a link below. They start targeting orange juice. Think of the states that produce orange juice. They target whiskey. Think about if you're in a state that produces whiskey, you're in the crosshair all of a sudden because of this tariff war. And then I've got another piece here I wanted to add to that. Get it to load here. This goes right along with it. The whole thing being propped up, as I say all the time. I talked about, I always talk about DB Bank because they're just in the obvious, so scandalous, been drug into court and fined and busted so many times for propping up the game, but most people just don't get it because their evening news don't mention it. But Goldman Sachs this time. Goldman Sachs vice president just charged with insider trading. I'm telling you, this is the vice president of Goldman Sachs. A little headline gets thrown out there like we've seen. It's not being blown up all over the place in these headlines or nothing. No, they just kind of pitch it out there in the open, right in front of your face, but yet no one's really paying attention. But it's sitting there. And they're telling you, yeah, this dude was just rigging the whole damn game and working with DB Bank and their goons. And you'll probably start to see things, shakeups within Goldman because of loose lips and people getting. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. When they start talking only hundreds of thousands of dollars, they're in one instance, when these guys are pushing hundreds of millions into billions, ultimately in control of trillions when it comes to the market. And they're manipulating it. So he gets busted. Let's wait and see here in the coming weeks if this guy goes to jail, if he just gets a slap on the wrist, or it's just another Friday night where I'm talking about vice presidents of the biggest banks and outfits out here getting busted for insider trading. And then by next week, it's like it never happened. In one ear, out the other. And people wonder why we get nowhere in this country. Because stuff like this is happening every day. And they walk. They pay a fine, they walk. And they're allowed to continue to keep doing it. Because it's a game. Once again, I got a link down there.
One thing on that note that I do want to say is I remember when the whole market crash happened in 2008. Iceland actually sent some of their people that were doing some of these bad banking practices to jail, and they're still in jail.
Mm. Yeah, they made some moves. It's interesting.
But none of that information got put out to the rest of the Western public, because we would have wanted our banking institutions figureheads on a stake.
It's all
We
about
would
the
have wanted
control,
to see
right.
ours in jail,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
they didn't want to go to jail, so they didn't broadcast that.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they should have a stranglehold on it. Censorship. You got a lid on it. You know. They're like China, the Great Firewall of China. Nothing escapes China if they don't want it to in terms of social media. Like I said, they're in their own little bubble, their own little world. They see something good going on outside, and they see a good name, brand, or idea. They'll just rip it off, and they'll create it in a little China land, and that's the reality of it. And they create that product and brand it, whether it's Super Mario or any character you could think of, any brand, Pepsi, Coke, anything, McDonald's. They will do that.
And what they're doing is they're actually ripping off their own people, because their people think that they're getting Apple iPhones, but they're getting Chinese iPhones. They think that they're getting Nikes, but they're getting Chinese Nikes. They're not getting Nikes. They're getting the fake ones. They're getting the ripoffs, the counterfeit ones.
Well, China is known for being, like this with clamping down. And Xi Jinping just got elected for life to be president now. Now China is banning hip hop culture and tattoos from all media sources. This is where Xi Jinping and his dynasty is taking things in China. And what you can expect to see happen with China for decades to come. As long as that guy's alive and breathing, this is where they're taking all this stuff. And they're clamping down. They're making it obvious in your face. This is how we're running things. And they just clamping down like totalitarian. They're saying, absolutely, do not use any actors who are tasteless. And if you guys missed some of my recent videos, they have a social scoring system now that they've implemented inside of China, meaning that if you don't score high enough, you can't even board a train. You can't even catch a flight. That's crazy. You're basically stuck, pinned in to certain areas if you have a crappy score. What if somebody stole your information and muddied up your name and you didn't deserve it? You would be stuck with that and fighting to try to prove your innocence inside of China, where there's all those people. And like I said, they're watching everything. It's they're tracking everything. Just put out a video about AI being programmed to track the way you walk. It's not about your iris. It's not about your facial features, how many points you've got in your face and all this other crap. No, it's just the simple way you're walking. They say every single person has like 24 characteristics to their walk, and that every single one is more unique than a fingerprint. And I know at first glance, I think that, okay, agents would be well trained to walk like other people and all this other stuff. I could see that happening, but that would have to be someone that goes through some very strict training to do this the right way. If you're going to try to fake another walk, I mean, you have to get it down. It's going to have to be something you do legitimately.
Well, not only that, but it also depends on the way that your body is formed, the way that your bones move across each other, the way, I mean, that's
certain
interesting that
can only do certain things.
Exactly.
You know, saying long strides would go with a long, lankier individual. You're not going to get that out of a shorter person, a shorter frame. So it would have to be characteristics like that would have to match up right out the gate. Just small scale, but it's crazy.
But some other things that go into that is like, what if you end up spraining your ankle? Then your walk is going to be a little bit different. You're going to walk with a little bit of a limp.
It's very true.
For the next couple of weeks.
And where are they picking up the base information on you of who you are? Anyway,
unless they're tracking you for an extended period of time.
I'm telling
facial recognition keys a specific body with a face, with an identity, and then you can pick up the baseline for that person's walk.
So I imagine in China,
Scary.
they've got this thing set up like the beast system, where it's just tracking anyone and everyone through anyone that's walking in and out of every door. Can you imagine how many cameras are inside of China tracking all those people? I mean, just there alone. And the government is clamping down totally, like control freaks, power freaks, like on everything.
Well, a couple weeks ago, I was watching an interview with a gentleman from, it was a Chinese tech company. Their president or chief marketing advisor or something developed a set of augmented reality glasses, kind of like the Google Glass type of thing, where it would automatically be able to identify the people that law enforcement is talking to at the time. So they'd be able to get 100% positive ID on whoever it is that they're talking with based on their databases. And the interviewer asked the guy, "What do you think that your government is actually going to be using this for?" And he responded with, "I cannot have an opinion on that." Or actually, no, the question was, is do you feel your government is going to be using this for the good of the people? And he responded with, "I cannot have an opinion on that." And then the interviewer was like, "I don't understand. You can't have an opinion on that?" And he was like, "It's not part of the approved questions I can answer." So even this guy during an interview is being told, or is telling, "I've got a leash around me.
I can only say so much."
Exactly. Or my social score will go down and I won't be able to travel around and pitch my innovations anymore.
That's just crazy. I mean, that's how much they control people right there from right at the gate. They influence just the thought of even attempting to go do anything, which I don't know. It's China at the current moment, and like I said, I've got links down there. You guys can read into these stories as I go through.
Another thing that I actually just came across this morning in some of these crypto Telegram groups, I went through and I started reading through like the rules and guidelines of the channel and like the community channel. And one of them that I came across was a Chinese chat. And in the rules, when I did a translation of the chat, one of the rules that could get you banned from the group is any references to politics. So you're not allowed to talk about politics in their public chat, which is one of the things that kind of like irritated me a little bit. And me being a kind of a jerk and a troll, I just started spouting off a whole bunch of politics inside the chat and got banned. But that's just me.
No, they didn't want your kind around.
Yeah.
You got to understand, some people just don't want to deal with the politics. They want certain atmospheres where they don't want it there. I understand that. I get it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But it was weird that it was a Chinese chat, and it was the only one that was allowed to be opened up to the outside world, essentially allowed to get through to the Great Firewall of China. And they were barring politics from the chat, and I took it as it was in essence trying to keep their own people safe from outside influence, so that they can keep their hold on the political structure of their mind, not allowing that defector mentality into their society. This is the way that things are, and there is nothing else outside of it. And so that's absolutely not true. I mean, we're allowed to think how we want to think. But that's also our political structure here in the United States.
Yeah. I've got a story down here. This is when I say this, it's funny because I put out a video the other day and it shows who really follows me and pays attention to what I put out and who just watches part-time. I was talking about Soros, and somebody comments, I can't believe you believe in Soros and all this. And obviously he must not have been around all these years, every single video I've ever done explaining Soros and who and what he is and everything else. But same instance here, I mentioned Bill Clinton, the Clinton cartel, everything I've talked about the Clintons, and on and on and on. So when I make the statement, it's not endorsing him at all. But he says possible foreign countries have tampered with the voting results. And I just find this comical. It's really not a laughing matter, but at this point in time, assuming we don't have no freaking cavalry out there ready to ride on these unrighteous people that have robbed our people blind, it would be a righteous thing if unrighteous and criminals, flat out criminals, were arrested. It's going to take a big enough group. You know what I'm saying? It'll happen one of these days. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm sitting here wondering, I was just talking about this before we went live. We're coming around the corner, approaching another election. I'm just wondering if people learned anything in the past year or so, past couple years, past couple administrations. Anyone's been paying attention all the way back to the first Bush. Hell, all the way back to when first Bush was in CIA. Hell, all the way back to when first Bush was on the front steps and had front row seats to watch JFK get shot. What are the odds of that? And then become the leader of the CIA and everything else. Yeah. Well, that's why I say the Bush and Clinton cartels are together. It's obvious. You're not awake if you're making excuses for either one of them. And if you're denying that they've had influence on everything that's happened here politically in this country throughout the decades, you're lying flat out, or you just don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're living in la la land. You've been spoon-fed mainstream media garbage your whole life. You need to get weaned off it at some point. Anyone that's still falling for the crap. I fear that when the next 9/11 type of event happens, what people are going to think. Look at what 9/11's already, it's already going down in the history books as what? How they're putting it. How they wrote it. When all of you that hear my voice know better. You're going to allow that to go down in history like that? That lie? Every one of you that can hear my voice, are you going to die knowing you never did anything to expose the murder of your fellow people here on our soil? It's what we fought day in and day out for forever. Some people just won't ever get it, though. So when I talk about Bill Clinton, he makes comments out here like that foreign countries are tampering with voting results. It's just get out of here, dude. It's such a setup scam. So don't come at me with your Democrat, Republican crap, the left-right paradigm, above and beyond that. Okay. And hopefully you're going to get there as well at some point and see that this whole thing's rigged. And always has been. It's always in the favor of the same ones. And it's not just here in this country. This is globally. When world leaders from other countries are sipping champagne behind the curtain, they control people. That's what counts. Some people don't like to hear that. Sorry. Truth hurts. You don't like it. You don't like what I got to say. Don't like the way I speak. Bounce. Unsubscribe. Never come back. I think I spend more time telling people to bounce than I do to subscribe. Because I don't want your dead weight around here. I'm sick of it. I don't want you dragging down other people with your negative mentality. With your lies. Because you can't wake up. Because you refuse to do so. Hopefully. hopefully more people sooner than later will start to see this truth, that this is all a game. Whole thing set up globally. They're playing all of us. Could sit here and talk about 20 different headlines, 20 different stories. End of the day, it's all a game being controlled by the same individuals behind the curtain. Always comes back, and it always circles back around to the same thing. What they're really worshiping. The rest of it's a show. Got a link down here of the U.S. warning India, you better consider the consequences of buying from Russia. So now India into the fold. Now, India is key here militarily in a big war. Always has been in my eyes. India is not best friends with China. They're not best friends with Pakistan. They're kind of in a pinch point. And it will be interesting to see what happens in this area and how things proceed from here with China and India. Really, it comes down to Tibet, the mountains, and Pakistan. China's running the Belt and Road right down through Pakistan. They're building a new base within Pakistan. You can go from China into Pakistan, into Iran, right into Turkey. No one could stop them. The closest pinch point that you have to stop that horde, if they were to form a wall there militarily, is Afghanistan. You would have to come down out of the mountains and invade into Pakistan and cut them off. That's the only way that they would be able to stop them. They're just going to start bombing them all over the place in all these countries. But this is what they're doing. Okay, doesn't have to be 2 million people today. They've been sending troops and equipment and building this stuff for some time, and it's just growing larger and larger. And there's a big wall out there that's countering the United States, and it's China, Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, Russia. It's a big one. So when you hear that the dollar is weakening and all this stuff out here, and I don't know. You hear all the time. I've said it's so rigged. It's just whatever day they have chose. I don't know the day. That's the big problem. I don't know the day of the next 9/11. Okay? I don't have the crystal ball like that. I got a good feeling I know what the event's going to be, who's going to be behind it, and everything that's going to go down with it. But I don't know the day. Okay? But maybe you should just prepare for such an event regardless, and not get caught slipping, because he comes like a thief in the night. And I'm telling you, so too with some of these events, they're going to pop off. Problem is, let's just say, what happens if the lights went out in this country, coast to coast? 50 years from now, what will history say? Who did it? Whoever survived is going to tell that story. It's whatever they want to say. It's however they want to put it, just like 9/11. Yet, right now, 9/11 is going to continue to go down the way it's being told by them throughout the mainstream media, with no answers to big questions. And it will stay like that because what? No one's doing anything any different. Bunch of people that were involved with that are in high positions here today. Hell, I think Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York City when Building 7 came down. Remember, they pulled it live on television. They said that. Pulled means you had to have it laced with explosives. That's Trump's new lawyer. I don't forget. I don't forget the people that jumped out of them windows. I don't forget. And I know who did it. There's your problem. How many of you looking the other way? There's your problem. Whenever y'all ready to face the fire, we'll get somewhere. Whenever those of you out there that got a badge are ready to start arresting real criminals and really want to put your life on the line will get somewhere. If not, it's going to be a same old song and dance. Next election, whole stage is going to fill up with their goons. They're going to be like, pick me, pick me. They're going to have 10 different flavors of the month. They know that you're going to fall in love with one of them, and that's all that counts. You're going to fight with your neighbor and your aunt and your uncle over it, and they love it. You see how it works? Hoping people will elevate up out of the stage. I know a lot of you have. A lot of you are awake. You see what's happening. But I don't like where this is going because we don't have, if our corporation was a ship, it's like, man, those that control and where they're steering this thing, this ain't good. We need some righteous cats at the helm. Let's just put it that way. And until that happens, until righteous cats are at the helm, at whatever cost, nothing's going to change. Righteous cats at the helm. It doesn't matter who drops at the wayside to make it happen. Because they will all be criminal. There isn't no guilt in that. It's just the fact that criminals pay off other people. They pay off so many around that people get paranoid and scared. And then they cop out. They buckle at the knees instead of standing their ground. It happens all too often. Money talks out here. People turn a cheek. It happens to people in high positions. It's primarily why we're in this position. The lobbyists, they control this country. All the other countries in their elite, along with the elite, the prance around in front of you on TV and everything else, that they control this thing. Everybody talks about a deep state. It's hilarious. They want to talk about deep state. We'll talk about deep state, but the guy you believe in ain't in it, is he? BS. Garbage. Last real one that came out telling you about the cabal, this hand, these bankers, was Kennedy. You seen what they did to him. They're still here. They ain't going nowhere. I'm all ears. Dabu7yahoo.com. Y'all got a game plan on how to deal with this? I'd love to see some young youth rise up that's not sold out and wants to become a politician or wants to be a mayor or a leader in their town, in their city. I'm ready. When's the last time we saw a good, fresh, young, talented individual like that that's not backed by their money or gets enticed by their money immediately? Bring me one. Where are you at? Do you exist? Male, female, doesn't matter. Step it up. I wonder, is there any of you out there? Well, I guarantee you there are some. They're going to need protection. They're going to need protection from a lot of you listening. If it's not you that's going to rise up, because anyone that's real out here that is a threat, they're going to try to attack. They're going to try to dirty their name up. And you have to be aware of this. You have to be aware of their tactics. You have to be aware of the body count. You have to be aware of what they do to people that they do not like, what they'll do to silence people and ideologies and anything going against what they want. So, yeah, that's what you're up against. But it's either we're up against that and we know what we're up against and we do something about it, or you do nothing. Which one you want? Do nothing? Haven't we been doing that long enough? How about we try something new? That's what I say. And it begins with the youth. They're just going to keep dividing them out here. My opinion. Further to the left, further to the right. Oh, that's not good enough. Going to break them up into subsets within there. Middle left, middle right, far right. See how it works? Can't fall for that. Man, I can assure you that there's a lot of people out there that float underneath the left banner or the right banner. They have a lot more in common in terms of your freedoms and love of your gun rights and everything else than you even realize. You just get played by mainstream media that peddles the garbage. I have a link here. I'm gonna pop off a couple of these stories here real quick. Just touch on these. I mentioned a story about the radium coming up in our water across the country big time. But now we're coming to find out that it's being used on our roadways en masse in these oils that are coating the ground. And it's adding to the problem we're seeing with it running off, leaching into our waterway, and causing issues big time. Anytime you're adding these chemicals or carcinogens into our atmosphere, into our waterway, we got to know where they're coming from. And you're talking about a radioactive element here. Radium, which is naturally occurring, like I said, it can be found in trace amounts and seep into water in like underground wells and things like that. It's just natural element. But in massive quantities, produced by a man, apparently they're coating the roads with this stuff. I didn't know that till now, but that's what they're doing. I mean, it just nothing amazes me anymore, I guess, but it's crazy what they're doing out here. I have another story here. This is interesting. In the ancient stuff, this is the stuff that really I could go on for hours about, because this is what I'm here to do. Okay, I'm here to unlock something I feel. If it's not inside of you, inside someone's mind, someone to light the fire and someone to be the one to get up and stick the dagger in the beast's chest. It's what this is about. There's mysteries of history here that have to be unlocked along the way to destroy what they're doing here, because there's a lot of deception. They're keeping our history, what you are, the fabric of us as people, what we are, spirit, is energy. They're keeping it all hidden. And anything that we can learn from the past, we need to. We've got evidence now of a 17,000-year-old coastal route that led into North America. And of course, when you go back further in time, the planet had a bit of a different shape. I know we can argue about that and go back and forth about the details of that. And that's open. And like I said, we could talk for hours just about that in space and get into all this other stuff. But it all really ties back in together in the end. You wonder why the pyramids aligned to Orion and everything else. This is like a reflection of the heavens, as above, so below. I've talked about why they make that statement so many times. And then if you want to talk about black hole suns, inner Earth, things of that nature with the as above, so below. What they hide in plain sight, the fallen ones. This is, to me, there's been some cataclysms that have happened here on this planet. And if you go back some 12,500 years ago, around the end of the last ice age, we see, and this is an area where I've been focusing on diligently because I believe within here that lies the keys to unlocking something. Now, something happened around that ice age that melted off a ton of ice. Whether it was solar flare, comet, this or that, there was a deluge. And there was two separate events just from ice core samples. They know this, and they know that a lot of these areas were flooded. I mean, look at Machu Picchu, where the big H blocks are. Lake Titicaca that sits up there. It has seahorses in the lake. Those H blocks and all those pieces, those megalithic structures that they still cannot reproduce today, were moved by a massive wave and buried in sediment and mud at 13,000 feet, I believe. I believe that was the footage of the feet there. May not be exactly right there, but close to it. The point is, I believe around the globe, you see megalithic structures, and Machu Picchu is the perfect example. Brian Forrester does excellent work on this. He shows, and he goes to these places like in Egypt. He goes to the base of these things and says, look, this is megalithic. This is a high technology that had power tools, diamond tipped lasers, removing the biggest blocks we see on the planet, like at Baalbek, that they were cutting, that they still can't tell you what they were doing today. It's in my belief, and that's at that moment in time where Cataclysm hit, that's when they dropped the tools and they quit cutting that stone at Baalbek. And you see this the same at other places around the globe. I believe this event, this cataclysm happened in this high technology civilization that was here. Your Atlantis, Lemuria, everything tied in, went down. And what you see in Middle America, South America, is immediately after this, the Inca and then the Maya show up to these locations and they start to rebuild on top of them. Now, you can sit there and you can look at where they showed up on the timeline and see that they used clay and mud and brick and normal rock. And it looks like cavemen came along after high technology. They stacked this up on what was left of the ancient stuff, just like the pyramids and all that. I believe the pyramids and the Sphinx itself are super ancient because there's water erosion all around the base of the Sphinx. That takes it back to the same time frame, 12,500 years ago, when there was that kind of a climate within Egypt where something massive happened around this planet. And tied in with the massive deluge and the destruction of high civilization on this planet that I believe was responsible for building the pyramids, your Sphinx, all your other ancient sites. And there's a reason why they were on these ley lines, on these fire lines we've talked about in the past. It's a natural energy grid that they were tapped into. And I believe the pyramids were power plants functioning fully and may have done more than that, but they were set up in an array to supply power. This is why you see light bulbs carved into the inside of the freaking pyramids. It's why you see helicopters, you see boats, you see other aircraft. It's all there. Okay. It's there. They've never found a mummy in one of those big pyramids. Not once. Ever. Okay. And there's a reason why there's water running up into the shafts below to be conductive, also with the material that was put on top of it. I believe they were massive power plants. It was an energy grid system. And matter of fact, it was even written that this was the case in the Emerald Tablets, that this was exactly what happened until something massive happened on this planet and threw everything off, which means it is known that there's a natural, and look at the sun. It is energy, wind, right? All these elements, they're energy all around us, natural forms of energy. The inertia of the earth forms energy that they can tap into. Yet they want you feeding off of their power lines coming to your house. You see, it controls you. That's why you're never going to hear anything about the ancient power structure or anything having to do with ancient anything, because of what it will open, Pandora's box. It will open the fact that we did not come from some caveman evolution. Like, you can look at the megalithic structures and the timeline itself tells you that is BS. How do you have huge megalithic structures before the Inca that have laser precision drill holes around the globe and no one wants to talk about it? Oh, it's just a myth. But we got roads leading out to Bimini. They want to tell you it's a myth. We got other places on our East Coast that shows that there's ancient stuff that's been here that they don't even want to make mention of. Look at the Carolinas. The Carolinas are littered with an area. Go down the coastline, Google Maps. They're littered with certain areas that have these flooded out regions that were cut by man a long time ago. And they have trees placed on each side, 2 by 2 by 2, all the way down through there. These are areas that have been underwater for as long as this has been known as America. Who did it? Who cut them? We found the same thing in the Everglades down in Florida. We asked the same question. They're like, oh, these primitive people did it. And then others are showing up now saying there's no way. Some of these canals and what they're calling canoe canals through the Everglades, which most people don't know exist because why? They turn it to a national park. They hide the stuff. Any spot out there, they're trying to hide something in plain sight, they turn it to a national park or something like that. You dig? It's the truth. There's something there. These big mounds, there's something buried there. Okay? There's stuff going on here. This goes ancient. I'm telling you, it's hidden right in front of your face. I feel hidden. And this is something that I feel that I'm being called to unlock. I feel hidden somewhere out here, whether it be on a pyramid wall or what, that the divine Most High, smarter than all these devils down here, if he's going to leave us something, he would leave it for us to find, where we would get it and not them, no matter how hard they want to search and tear this bitch up. Excuse my language. Globally, every country trying to find these ancient technologies, which is exactly what they're doing. To me, this comes down to hidden sciences and technologies. And I feel we talked about with somatics. You have to open your mind here for a second. What is somatics? This is what came to me. We're talking about the whole Da Vinci Code and things being hidden and all this stuff out here trying to make sense of stuff. That Rosalind Chapel came to me. And it kept coming back to me. And the notches around it and the inside. I'm like, man, something kept telling me, it's like, you need to play something. You need to play me here. Play here. Sound. I never knew what that meant. Fast forward years later, we start messing with somatics. Sand and water over a speaker. You start to play different tunes and frequencies, and you get different designs, geometric patterns. So when we started to mess with this, I started to see that something came to me and told me, make the Holy Grail. No one's done it. Do it. You need to take every frequency that you can get your hands on and run it through water and run it through sand. And I want you to record the image of both. The design, like a scroll, like a master key of the geometric patterns that come from these frequencies in nature. Then, if you have this, I guarantee you, this is what I feel, this is what's coming to me. Whoever can achieve this, you're going to find written on some wall somewhere a pattern that someone may have overlooked 100 million times, but you're going to know when you see it that that is from the scroll. That is from what we just made. That is a frequency. And what I'm telling you is when you find it, it's going to be telling you to play a frequency here. And when you do, that is the magic. That is what changes everything. That is what I believe rips open space hole portals, you name it. Moves blocks, brings down the walls of Jericho. Vibration, frequency. Something is hidden. I'm telling you, you mark my words. If no one's ever told you, don't you ever forget it. Something is hidden right here in plain sight. The geometric frequency right in front of our face. If we can develop and create this map, which I don't even have the tools to do it. I don't even have a speaker to do it, or I'd do it right now. I'm not rich from the gutter, but if I had it, this is what I'd be doing right now. A little workshop of all this stuff, making this happen, recording all these things, getting this put together. Then once we have a master database of these shapes and sounds, we can then proceed to go to places that may have images correlating to them. But we don't even know where to go until we do this. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? You've never heard anything like this in your life, and you never will. These are keys. These are keys.
Written in stone.
And thanks, Alexandros.
Thank you. Sorry. I get in that mode. Yeah, and the frequencies, they've changed it. And the music, yeah. I mean, we get on. I could go on forever just about that. The frequencies and all that, man. It's but I keep it short there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I was watching a documentary on something similar to that, where this guy was freezing water droplets while specific tones and frequencies and music and different things were being played from people's speech to different types of music. And when the water was freezing, when a calming sound was being played, it would freeze into this beautiful geometric pattern. But when like a harsh sound or like a music that has very conflicting chord structures to it, when it was being played as the water was being frozen, or the water droplets were being frozen, it would form these weird, like almost scary looking formations that were very asymmetric. They had no symmetry to them. They weren't even. They weren't like what you would think of like a snowflake, where it's like a 6-pointed snowflake, where
Definitely
it looks
wasn't
like
beautiful.
something.
It wasn't manifesting beautiful. The frequency was manifesting ugly.
Exactly. And I mean, and that started making me wonder. It's like, okay, well, this music that we're listening to, that's not beautiful sounding music. I mean,
you said that 432 frequency.
If you think about it, we're made of something like 70% water.
Mm-hmm.
If we're constantly feeling these frequencies that are these quote unquote ugly frequencies, it's going to make our body resonate ugly, which could potentially morph into our mind thinking ugly.
We already know, they've just shown they can manipulate DNA through vibration and frequency with the 5G. Come on, it's set up across the whole country. Come on, it's right there. It's all right around us.
Man,
I know it's so much depression. But we got to keep our head up, Prince. We've got to. We got to keep our head up, man. This is a lot of crap to have to deal with, but I don't give up faith, man. I don't give up hope, man. It's inside of us, so it exists. Let's keep on scrapping. Let's do this. Keep on trucking.
It's scary. This stuff is really scary, but you have to realize that if you do not know what's being used against you, you cannot counteract it.
Very true.
You can't resolve this. You need to know what tools are being used so that you know how to counteract it. We just don't know at this moment in time how to counter it. We know what the tool is, we just don't know how to counter it. It's up to somebody to figure out how to counter it so that it could free you mentally from this state of frustration that everybody's being put into.
It's interesting because as we're talking about this, I've got 4 articles here left pulled up that I wanted to touch on. And this one here is on scientists saying no religion needed for this. Even if they're saying, even if you're atheist, they want you to pay attention to what they're saying. They're saying that there's a part of the brain that reacts to spirit, to the energy. And it shows that aside from the word religion, there is a spiritual essence to everyone, a spiritual side. They go on to talk about the effects on the cerebral cortex and how when people are inclined to think of heavenly or if you're praying or you're just in that, you'll feel that chill, that vibration around your body. You'll get it, that little chill on you, that little goosebumpage, that you know what I'm saying? They talk about that being a very, very real energy in that they're recording it and all this other stuff. And it's, they talk about it here in terms of the whole spirituality thing. And there's a link there didn't have a chance to read the whole thing, but it just popped into my mind when we were thinking about this, in terms of the spiritual level and everyone's energy.
That chill that you're talking about, the goosebumps that you're talking about, like you get it when you hear specific tones, when you hear specific chords within music, and when you think about things, you can even get that when you hear things,
right?
Envision things, you can hear it. And I've always took that as if it was something speaking to me, something that I needed to remember, that I needed to make note of whenever I get that sensation, what I was thinking about, what I was seeing, what I was experiencing at the time that I had felt this. And I would say every single time that I've ever experienced that has been for the greater good, for be it my own benefit, my own family's benefit. The thing, whatever that was, I don't know what it was. I try not to give it a name. But that spirit is telling you for at least me, my interpretation is that spirit is keying you into specific thought processes.
I feel like it's here all around us. It's no mystery.
That'll help you.
I feel like it's a part of our plane, of our existence, just like the air we breathe, the spirit realm, this ethereal realm all around us. It's definitely where energy is residing, and it's almost like a curtain, a veil here in our reality, of which they keep us blind to, but is very real, that has effects in this realm 100%. And that goes along with all the other secrets and things they keep from people, and the manipulation of everything, of the frequency, trying to manipulate the music, as we said earlier. And yeah, they've done a good job of taking over the music industry, changing the frequencies, giving you demonic energies, which is what they specialize in. This is why you can run their stuff backwards and get the demonic message. It was there for a reason. It was mirrored in it. They work to master this, especially those in the music industry and in Hollywood. They work to master these sigils, to hide them in plain sight, to ticker tape the truth right there in the open. So they can never say, "Oh, well, we can't say we didn't tell you." They're hiding it right there in plain sight. It's a part of their magic. It's a part of them manipulating things out here in this world. Now, they'll continue to do this until somebody stops it. They'll continue to pull off sacrifices. I mean, literally, when I look around at these events around the globe, and I see the events that went down, even 9/11, and the demonic clouds nature of the whole event that came out of it. It represented something to a certain people. Now, to me, if people are willing to do that, what's next is my biggest concern. And the technology is really the biggest factor here, because it's something that the odds are stacked against us.
I want to make a quick comment. A couple of people have mentioned it in the chat too, and it's artificial substances, like, drugs, alcohol, for example. Just a quick word on that. Anything that we take into our body that's artificial, anything is going to disrupt whatever positive frequency that we might be going after. We got to be careful. Use good judgment when we take them drugs and alcohol. Very in moderation is what you should be thinking of. Don't overdo it.
Thank you, Angel.
Even with medicines, the other kind of drugs that are okay.
It's you can classify all that stuff in different ways there too. I mean, we can talk about each and every one. Anything man gets his hand on, some could say is, broken down to like say cocaine. You'd have to process it a certain way. Versus say a plant like weed that just grows, versus meth or something like that. That is obviously, once again, it has to be man construing chemicals and doing all this other stuff. Obviously wasn't meant for you naturally. That's a whole different classification there. And I mean, somebody's mentioned alcohol, and yeah, alcohol's been something people have been drinking for a long time. And yeah, they say spirits. Isn't that interesting? Drink spirits. It is interesting that those things are called that. And it's no secret. I think when alcohol is drinking by people, they get more loose. And this is used in more ways than what people realize, though. If somebody just said alchemy, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing black magic and alchemy, and it's right in front of your face, controlling your energy, your vibration, your wants, what you have coming to you, the whole nine, and also being the ones that are shipping in everything. You wonder how it all gets here? Yeah. I mean, you wonder how the crates of automatic weapons get dropped off in the hood in Chicago? Same guys, same Cessnas, unmarked, and you know who's flying them. Same guys had the boys shot and killed Biggie and Pac and Lennon and JFK and Martin Luther King, same ones connected to everything. Say it every Friday night. I have a link down there also. I think this is interesting since we're here at this point of where this is all going. And we'll wrap it up here on this note. This technology, they keep hinting out here that there's UFOs creeping around. And it's not like they've done in the past. It's in a different style. And they're not even calling them UFOs. They're calling them AAVs, which is anomalous aerial vehicle. And if you guys missed it, the most recent story is talking about how the Nimitz, which is an aircraft carrier, Navy vessel that I've talked about many times, I believe it's one of their main vessels, U.S. aircraft carrier, yeah, Nimitz. It was stalked by this tic-tac shaped aircraft. This is what they're saying. I put out a video here recently talking about how they showed in broad daylight. They actually released the footage and showed this object zipping over the ocean. And the pilots are like, oh my gosh, what is that? Like, are you kidding me? You getting that? Like, yeah, like, we don't know what it is. Like, now, stop and think about that. You think our military is just going to sit there and see something like that and laugh it off? Like, oh, what is that? Get out of here. They're all over it. They know what these things are. What they showed you, what they showed the whole freaking world is that this technology is here. They showed you broad daylight, if anybody's paying attention, and they did it a couple times. They sure did. The technology is what they showed you. It doesn't have to have little green men in them. It could be controlled a million different ways. Who knows? Could have other life in it, because I don't rule that out. Because as far as I can see, the fallen ones are here. They landed on Mount Hermon, and all the ones that have sold us out believe they're the offspring of them, and they believe that we ain't crap. And I believe you're all God's people, the chosen ones. They don't want you to realize this. They want to treat you like crap. They see you as being subordinates. They think that their blood is thicker with this DNA. And this is why Yeshua said, come harvest, we're going to separate the wheat from the shaft. This mingling of the bloodline, which has happened here on this planet. And it's written right there for those of you that believe in your Bible. The Nephilim, they landed on Mount Hermon. This is the area where Israel is right now, just ready to reach out and grab and take over completely. It will be the one step before they really launch into Damascus. It would be one of the best places to be to launch from. Matter of fact, the ridge line they're already at up there is where they have been shooting from to hit prime targets down in southern Syria. So this technology, where did it come from? It came from the fallen ones. You understand? This came from the fallen ones. Either these guys go running around trying to dig it up and find what they can globally, or these other governments have struck up deals with ones that they're basically worshiping and getting this technology from. They are the offspring of the fallen ones. The ones that landed here, they came into the women of this planet and they bore giants. I also believe it's the reason why they wiped this place out. Problem is, even stated in their Bible, they were still here after that event. And that's the issue. Now they're just hidden. They're hidden, and your elite know this. This is why they have Apollo on their walls. This is why they worship Zeus. This is why everything that we've talked about going back through ancient Egypt and the pharaohs with their elongated skulls, they are the offspring of the fallen ones. And this is what it all comes back to. This is what we're up against. When you think your government or whoever is against you, or if you think that people have sold us out and you're wondering why, and you hear, oh, they're worshiping Lucifer. Well, it's about the fallen ones. It's about this whole entire race that is behind the curtain that no one has to go, Nance, to talk about out here. And most of the time, the biggest channels out here, because you've got to be wondering, how come Dabu's the only one that ever hits on this like this? I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't worship it and they don't control me. And that is the reason why you're not hearing some of these big channels ever speak about it. Ever will. Because they either worship it or they are controlled by it. Don't forget it. So they're not helping no one out here pushing their crap. If they're not calling out the real enemy behind the curtain, the real hand, which isn't even human, that is here influencing this, then they ain't nothing but a damn shill. So, once again, I'm going to try to go live on Dabu 777 next week. Whenever it allows me to go live there, I will go live. Plan was to go live there tonight. It was supposed to be all clear, but it's still glitching. We'll give it another whatever and see what happens. Till then, I'll keep on live streaming right here, but yeah. Just reading the chat. Much love, y'all. I'm gonna shut it down here for the evening. Went live a little early. And I want to thank everybody that tunes in on Friday night. Everybody that shares this message. Everybody gets it. Don't forget it. And if the Lord doesn't return in the coming 7 days, we'll see you here next time for some Underground World News Live. Before I go, I'm going to give some shout outs. We thank B for holding down the chat there, Mr. A, as well, all the mods out there, watchers, holding down the fort here. Shout outs to Ed. Ashton, what's up, Ryan and NC? Always on top of the stuff popping off down there at NC. I appreciate all the information that you send my way. The King's Army, Paula, EP, Tash, Debbie, Mad, JB, Hunter, Corleen, Mark, Polar, Nikki, Yeshua's Return. You got that right. Joe Garcia, Double A's, Teresa, David, Texan, Polar, Tammy, Professor, Fazzo, T. Kerr, JL, Hippo, Green Man, Freedom, 99 Red B, Benito, Norma, Jeep, Amber, Die, Craig, Smoky Mountains, love them. Deeds, Professor C, and it's off the chain now. I love all y'all. Don't forget it. I want to thank everyone out there that has our back all the time. everyone that supports me, especially out here trying to cover these events and get across the country to different places. It's appreciated to the fullest. And make sure you're hitting the notification, the bell next to subscribe if you want to get all my information, because chances are, even if you do that, you may not get notified that I'm putting out videos. But make sure you're subbed to both my channels. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Hit me up, dabu7yahoo.com. You got anything you want me to report on? Shout out to my cats down there in Brazil. I'm glad that the tide's turned. Things are getting better down there. Thanks for the updates. Much love to everybody down there in South America, all around the globe. This has been Dabu7 and the crew signing off. This is Illuminati. To the death, man.